Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. As always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
Well, how's everybody doing here in the Tampa Bay area? Just when you think you know what your show is going to be all about, everything changes. And this is the great thing about sports radio and sports podcasts when we're live every day here at noon on the Recher podcast, because when something happens, we are here with you and we're going to break it all down. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe. Today is a great day to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 5,000 by the end of the season, end of the year, actually, in December. As always, a big thank you to our main sponsor, Honest Hammer Custom Builders LLC, licensed, insured, bonded, general contractors, residential, commercial. 813-244-0956. Just hit that QR code right there. Our guy Russ at Honest Hammer. Look, not good after reading these first comments. Make sure you give him a shout. If you want to talk sports too, he's a big Tampa Bay sports fan. This is why we want to support live and local. Our guy Honest Hammer, he is the man. The big news here. And listen, the show, we were going to focus predominantly on the Rays and some of their struggles, Junior Caminero being named an all-star yesterday, and the big news last night, Isaac Howard getting traded from the Tampa Bay Lightning to the Edmonton Oilers for, it was kind of a like-for-like trade. Sam O'Reilly, former first-round pick for the Edmonton Oilers. That was what we were going to start the show with. We were going to hit it hard. We were going to go through everything. We were going to blast down those lazy narratives that he's just like Anthony Cirelli. Listen, he may be like Anthony Cirelli. When you look at his resume, it's deeper than that. If people are just saying, oh, he's just like Anthony Cirelli, he's not. He's a different player. And we're going to break that down at 1 o'clock today, because the big news that came out about an hour and a half ago, Tristan Wirfs will be out for the first couple of weeks of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2025 season. They went in arthroscopic surgery. Let's check out the knee. It was worse than expected. Not great. So we saw at training camp, we're out there at the OTAs, and we're like, that's not good. Why is he wearing a knee brace? Oh, it shouldn't be too bad. And even Todd Bowles himself said it shouldn't be an issue. So when he says that, you're like, okay, precautionary. He should be fine for camp. Now we hear that it's not good. We hear that he's going to be out. And let's show some love to our guy, Rich Stroud from the Tampa Bay Times. Now, Adam Schefter gets 95% of these, breaking news stories, and he wants to give credit to somebody else who gave Rick Stroud credit for being first. That pisses me off. You're a guy that breaks the majority of the NFL news. Like, show some, give some love. And I can't stand how the ESPN or any of these big news corporations want to say, as first reported by the Tampa Bay Times. I guess it was the Tampa Bay Times, but it was Rick Stroud. Rick Stroud was the guy that did that. So, annoying as hell. Rick Stroud, the first one on it. Our pal Greg Auman is going to join us here in about 30 seconds from Fox Sports. We're going to break it all down with him. He's got a lot of stuff going on. So we're going to get right to Greg Auman so we can get into this news, because he's got a lot of stuff going on at the casa. Make sure we have the background correct, and we take this one out and bring him in. It's our guy Greg Auman from Fox Sports joining us on the program. What's going on, Greg? How are you?
Good, Jay. Good to be on with you. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you for pivoting quick. And like I just said before you hopped on, I was like, I'm all over this Isaac Howard trade. I'm watching video of Sam O'Reilly last night. I'm like, oh, this guy, Edmonton Oilers prospect, going to be here with the Bolts. And then Tristan Wirfs comes down and it's like, stop. Our all-pro left tackle banged up. And we'll just start right at the top, Greg. Why didn't the Buccaneers get this done sooner if this was going to be an issue? Did they really foresee this to just kind of be like a normal cleanup arthroscopic surgery? Because I know that's probably one of the biggest questions is why wait so long? If you get this done early on in the offseason, he might not miss any time at all.
Yeah, I mean, I have to think they're not saying much, but I mean, I have to think they thought this was not as significant as it is. I mean, and that he, had an MCL during the season, missed, basically 3 weeks with it, was able to come back and play, but obviously wasn't 100%. So, we see him minicamp a month ago. He's still got a brace on his knee. And even then, they're saying, no, it's fine. It's precautionary. He'll be fine for training camp. And when they finally do go in, they see it is more significant. So, no, it's not ideal. And I think the only way you would choose this is if you just weren't aware of the significance of what was wrong with his knee. So, I mean, if you had this done January, February, it's not an issue at all. So no, now it stands to, overlap with potentially the first month of the season and some really big games on their schedule.
Yeah. And I just want to, so, and again, I always, I have this conversation with Mark Topkin a lot, like, man, we should have paid attention to like biology more, anatomy and law and weather, right? Like there's so many different things we should have focused on, but as far as we know, like you're not going to be able to tell the severity of this injury until they open him up, right?
He had the procedure yesterday. So, I mean,
yeah.
They know what was wrong. They know what was done. They're just not saying a lot. Again, you just want to protect the player by not saying too much. But again, I mean, it sounds like, what Rick Stroud reported for the Times is that this is something that will likely, impact the first couple weeks of the season. It's not a lock that he starts the year on PUP. If he doesn't practice in the training camp, you can put him on PUP where he doesn't take up a roster spot, but you also know you're not going to have him for the first 4 weeks of the season. So, it's possible. I mean, if you look back, some of the bigger injuries they've had, they've skipped PUP. With Godwin, when he came back, they didn't put him on PUP. You can carry him on the 53 and just have him inactive. And then at least that way, there's the chance that if you get him back in week 3 or week 4 is the Eagles. So it's a big one. Their first 4, it's not all gangbusters, but I mean, it's Falcons, Texans, Jets, Eagles. So it's one of those where you probably weren't going 4-0 when you had Tristan Wirfs healthy. But again, they want to at least get that Falcons win. If you can be 2-2 in those first 4 and get Wirfs back in week 5, that's probably right now the best scenario with this.
Yeah, I know the Falcons are probably licking their chops with some of those young pass rushers trying to attack this Buccaneers team. Contingency plan. Where do we go now? I mean, they bring in Heck. I mean, obviously no more Justin School. We've seen the last couple of years when he's had to hold down the fort. I think Schools got very well respected in that locker room too. I mean, we're turning to Heck now, right? It's what the heck at left tackle, it looks like. Yeah. Any other options there, or do they possibly look outside?
It's not ideal. I mean, this is something where, I mean, they didn't let anybody really go on offense. Justin School is probably the best player they let go. Went to the Vikings, got paid there, has a little bit more opportunity to play there because he thinks that Tristan Wirfs is healthy when he leaves the Bucs, but wasn't paid a ton. So, I mean, now they turn to Charlie Heck. Charlie Heck's a guy Bucs brought in like week 2 of last season and didn't even sign him then as a backup. So, he played for the Cardinals, played for the Niners, is a guy who's been around the league a ton. His dad played in the league. His dad's coached in the league. He's huge. He's 6'8", 310. So, I mean, a huge guy, just not somebody. I think he has 9 starts in the last 3 years. So, to kind of swing tackle, backup tackle type numbers, it gets pressed into duty here. I think it'll be him. Their backups besides him are fairly unproven. You got some undrafted rookies. You got some other guys. Elijah Klein's a guy who's a second-year guy who's mainly been a guard. They could move him out there. But the idea, I mean, the cool thing for them is that this, not cool, but the best part of this is that it's happening in mid-July. Right. So you have weeks before training camp. You have all of training camp and preseason to plan something, to have somebody in place for weeks, at least weeks 1 or 2, maybe weeks 1 through 4. It's not like this happening in season. You got to scramble on a Tuesday to find somebody for 5 days later. But yeah, Charlie Heck is the most experienced option they have. He's the guy they brought in to be the swing tackle. It just hasn't gone as ideally as they would have liked up to this point.
And we're not going Gedeke to left tackle because I know there's going to be somebody out there like, just move Gedeke for left tackle for 4 weeks. That's just throw that out.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think
not
so.
a chance that happens.
I think you'd rather have 4 guys exactly where they should be and 1 fill in as opposed to guys out of position and whatever chaos comes from that.
I want to go back to the timing of the surgery too, knowing that like, all right, you're getting this arthroscopically done. Why wouldn't they do the arthroscopic early? Did they expect him to be able to just go to the mandatory mini camps and the OTAs and stuff like that, and just be able to kind of like, all right, just weather the storm a little bit, work out like why wouldn't they schedule that? Even like I just is
Right.
this a misplay? Is this a misstep from the Buccaneers? Because you think, all right, you're going to get this scope. Like, how early did they know that they were going to have to get this arthroscopically done if he was wearing a knee brace? Like, if he's out there at all with the knee brace, why not get it done let's say it's not January, February. Let's say get it done in March and go like, hey, let's clean it up in case there's something wrong. Did the Buccaneers make a slight misstep here of not trying to prepare for the worst, or is it almost an impossible scenario?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know what they knew and when, if you will.
Right.
But I don't know. It's not necessarily some negligence where this has been the problem he's had since January. I mean, it's something where if he had the same level of discomfort in January he had in June, I think they would have addressed it in January. You know, there's a decent amount of time you go there where they're not in the building and they're not around. So, you know, to see him in mini camp, even then, you'd think, again, you know, first week of June, you'd scope it right then. Make sure you at least know what you have. Just the difference between June and July is the difference in missing 4 weeks and not missing any weeks. So even to do it in June would make more sense. The only thing that makes sense is that this is something they did not think was there. And this is a level of discomfort or a loss of function that he didn't have up until at least June. I mean, if not since then. So yeah, it's one of those where it's not like they thought he was 100%. I just think they thought it was manageable and not something that needed surgery.
How does this change how the Bucs are going to be viewed in the division? Because you're now in the next month or so, you're kind of looking at teams and all right, we think we know what they look like now, but then injuries do happen, right? So does this put a dent in their chances of winning the division once again? Because I'm sure, you know, at the very least, teams like Falcons, Saints, Panthers, they're going to be licking their chops knowing that like, hey, well, obviously the Falcons, the only division rival they play in the first 4 weeks, but they got to be licking their chops and their other opponents like, hey, if we're going to strike the Buccaneers early in the season is probably the best time to do so.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a setback. I mean, you know, in theory, it's only 4 games probably. You know, if he were out for the season, yeah, it would absolutely wreck things. If it's only a month, again, he's a hugely important player. He's the highest paid offensive lineman in football. He's, you know, arguably one of their, in terms of drop off to backup, one of their most significant players they could lose. So it's, you know, it's not anything you can scoff at, but it's 4 games. You know, they still should be able to, I would think they can go 2-2 in this stretch. The key thing is beating the Falcons. It's like last year, you're either going to be behind that tie break for the division title or you're going to be ahead, you know, and last year, the main thing working against them is that they got swept by the Falcons. They don't want anything close to that this time around. So it makes that Falcons game in week 1, where you now have a backup tackle and you have 2 rookie pass rushers making their NFL debut. It just makes it very important. It's on the road in Atlanta. So it's one of those where if you win that one, if you split the Jets and Texans and you know, lose to the Eagles, we're not going to say that. I mean, they could obviously beat the Eagles. They beat the Eagles last year, but if you're 2-2 coming out of that, I think that's within a game where you probably should have been with a healthy Wirfs.
Have you watched any of the quarterback on Netflix?
I have not yet. No, I'm intrigued to though.
Dude, I just watched the 3rd episode, and it's the Atlanta Falcons Bucs game on that Thursday night.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
And
okay,
it's
cool.
Cousins preparing for, you know, Todd Bowles' defense, and he talks about week 1 when he was with the Vikings and how he had some of those notes carry over. Really good. You got to check it out. I think it's one of the best NFL documentary things that have gone on. Before I let you go, I know you got a lot going on. I appreciate your time. What's kind of, because I got a show tomorrow and then I'm off for 3 weeks. And then by the time next time I see you, you'll be at training camp. What's that one battle? What's that 1 or 2 guys that you're keeping an eye on? Because you may not know where they fit into the roster as a whole. Maybe the battles, like what's that one storyline you're keeping an eye out for with training camp just a few weeks away?
Yeah, I mean, there's not many position battles this team.
Right.
Corner's definitely one, just in terms of Dean and McCollum, these 2 rookies, and Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Parrish. I think Parrish is probably inside of the nickel, so it's less of an issue there. But that's definitely one to watch. You know, the battle at receiver, just to see how things shake out. They're all going to make the team. They're all going to get catches, but to see how quickly Emeka Egbuka moves up that chart and whether he's wide receiver 4, wide receiver 3, when Godwin comes back, they have so many things in flux at receiver that's kind of a neat position to watch as well. Battles for, wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6 in camp. They're going to cut guys at receiver that'll probably play elsewhere in the NFL. So those two things, receiver and corner, are probably the most interesting right now.
You think Godwin will suit up for training camp?
I think he'll suit up during training camp. I don't know if he's there like day 1, week 1. But yeah, I think he's back and working as training camp continues.
He's all over. Greg Auman, Fox Sports, breaking everything down with Tristan Wirfs and the Bucs. Thanks, pal. Talk soon.
All right, man. Take care. Have a good break.
Thanks, man. Yeah, summer vacation for me starts after tomorrow. So really, really good stuff there. Greg, what a good dude. He got people at the house, AC guy at the house. He's like, bro, I got 10, 12 minutes for you. I'm like, 10, 12 minutes is good for me. Are you worried? Are you worried? Are you upset? Are you pissed? Do you think it was negligence from the Buccaneers? I want to hear from you. Today is a good day. Our Buccaneers fans. Here is the link. Bucs Nation. The link is in the chat. What is your thoughts? Right here. StreamYard.com/YWXCQ5X9RE. The link is right there in the chat. Click on it. Phone, laptop. Join in on the conversation. Are you worried about the Buccaneers in the start of the season because Tristan Wirfs will be out for anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks? We don't know how long it's going to be. Of course, you guys can contribute via the super chat as well. Every donation helps. $1, $2, $5, $10, $20. We really do appreciate it. Jeff Taylor is always contributing to the program, the Terry family as well. Thank you guys so much. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. We'll get to them as well. And again, here is the link. It's right in the chat if you want to join us via the phone or the laptop. David Velasquez chimes in. I'm pissed and I'm worried. I'm more upset because we didn't know. Yes, and that's why I framed the question the way I did to Greg Auman when it comes to the Tristan Wirfs injury. Is this something where negligence probably too strong of a word, but I just look at it as if you already knew in camp that his knee was bothering him, why was he out there? Why was he out there in a brace? Why are you trying to battle through that right now? Why wasn't he going to get checked out then? Like, why are you waiting until now? Why didn't July 8th? This is your most, prized possession on this team. Tristan Wirfs is the best player on this team. He's one of the best players in football. I don't know, man. Like, I get it. I understand that the Buccaneers did not know that it was as serious as it was. But, I mean, shouldn't they, isn't it their job to know, right? I don't know. Am I going too far here? Am I thinking that the Buccaneers should have been a little bit more prepared for this? Not as far as, on the roster size. On the roster construction, having Charlie Heck in there and not letting Justin School go, because at that time you didn't know. But if you knew when we were there at the Avondale Training Center at One Buccaneer Place a couple of weeks ago, that the only way that Tristan Wirfs was going to be out there with his team was to wear a right knee brace, why wasn't the surgery scheduled then? Right? You scheduled for July 8th, I guess you didn't know. But you knew that day when we were there that his knee was bothering him enough to wear a brace that we all recognized. We're like, oh, Todd Bowles said it was an issue. There's a difference between being hurt and injured. There's a difference between guys that are going to give it a go, guys that have a high pain tolerance. I get that. But Tristan Wirfs is one of, if not the most important player on this team outside of Baker Mayfield. This is the guy that you want to talk about why the Buccaneers are a running team, why Baker Mayfield has played so well, why this offensive line is arguably the best offensive line in Tampa Bay Buccaneers history. Well, Tristan Wirfs is a big reason why. An all-pro at right tackle, an all-pro at left tackle, and now the Buccaneers are going to be without him. And there are teams around the league that are going to be licking their chops because they're not going to look at this Buccaneers offensive line and be scared. They're good. But Tristan's different. He's a difference maker. When he's not there, it's a precipitous drop-off between him and the next guy. The guy can, Charlie Heck can hold the fort down and do a decent job. He's not Tristan Wirfs. He's not. So if I'm the Falcons, I'm the Jets, I'm the Texans, I'm the Eagles, I'm like, This is an opportunity for us to knock off this team that, outside of, I'm sure the Texans have that. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with the freaking Jets this year? That team is such a cluster and a dumpster fire over the years. And, could they be good this year? Maybe. With Aaron Glenn at the head coaching position and Justin Fields at quarterback, maybe. But I know week 1 against the Atlanta Falcons, they're happy as hell today. And Marc Raimondi is going to join us here momentarily. Writer of Say Hello to the Bad Guys. I just got my own copy. How Professional Wrestling's New World Order Changed America. ESPN's Marc Raimondi joins us on the program. He's the beat writer for the Atlanta Falcons for ESPN as well. So we'll ask him from the Falcons' point of view, from their perspective, what do they feel when they hear news like Tristan Wirfs is going to be out for the first couple of games, including that season opener against the Falcons? How does he feel about that one? And also the quarterback Netflix documentary. Have you guys seen that? Unbelievable. It's fascinating. It's the best thing that they do. It's one of the best things on Netflix, sports or otherwise. It's just to get inside the minds of Kirk Cousins and Joe Burrow and Jared Goff. You see that they each have their own idiosyncrasies. They each have their own ticks. They have their, they're so specific, but there's also like an underlying similarity that they have, that perfectionist, that, leadership mentality, the master communicator. The NFL quarterback is just, they're on a different level. And when they spoke about it in the second or third episode and discussing what they're looking at pre-snap, when that play clock is winding down, again, it's fascinating how much information that they have to compute and communicate. It's crazy. It is crazy. I think the mental part of it is even more taxing than the physical part of it. They are just, and I can't wait. We're going to talk about this today, about 4:00 today, the Beckles and Recher podcast at the Dignitary Cafe. Today is going to be a hell of an episode because we are going to talk about Tristan Wirfs. We're going to talk about how quarterbacks process information. We're also going to talk about that Kansas City radio host that called Patrick Mahomes fat. You want to call pot calling the kettle black. Look at the majority of the freaking sports radio hosts in this country. Half those guys can't even barely run their mouth. You want to talk about running a marathon or running a race? Get freaking bent. Lady Evil agreed, worried, and exactly how you say, why was he out there? That's a major error. Your thoughts on the Tristan Wirfs injury? Feel free to leave your comments, questions, concerns at the bottom. If you want to call in, StreamYard.com/YWXCQ5X9RE. Don't be shy. Give us a call, and you can join us via your phone or your laptop to discuss all things Buccaneers, Lightning, Rays. Congratulations to Junior Caminero, named to the All-Star game, as well as being a participant in the Home Run Derby. And I'll discuss why this might be too much too soon for the young Ray star. That'll be at 1:30 today. I was actually at practice myself on the field this morning. From 9 to about 10:45 because we leave for Hoover, Alabama on Friday morning. Tomorrow will be the last show before summer vacation. We have about 2.5 weeks off. Tomorrow I'll give you the return date of the program because we have Buccaneers training camp. Before you know it, I'll be in I was going to try to see if I could do a show when I travel. Would I do one in New York? Or it's just too much to be able to take everything with me because I'm flying from Alabama to New York and then New York to North Carolina. We'll be camping. It's just too much. If I do anything, it'll be on my phones, but I'll be gone from, so tomorrow's what, the 10th? So I leave the 11th. I'll be gone from like the 11th to the 27th. So, well, we can look at it now. The next show will more than likely be the 28th. So we're looking at 2 full weeks off. So probably the next show, July 28th. But we'll be back live, ready to roll. And I'll make sure that I'll pop in and make sure everybody knows what's going on. Patrick Mahomes, shiver me timbers. Patrick Mahomes. Isn't that crazy? Like, it doesn't matter what you look like. I can't tell you how many athletes, I appreciate you, Shiv. I can't tell you how many athletes out there, people judge them how they look as far as like what they look like with their shirt off And what's up? Oh, crazy. Who cares? Look at this guy's arm. Look at how he looks. Like JTS was, everybody look at JTS, such a phenomenal athlete. Look what he looks like. Who cares? It's about production on the field. Nikola Jokic, is that the guy that's going to be in the, is that the guy you want taking your shirt off? Come on, get real. I don't care what Patrick Mahomes looked like. That guy can sling it. That guy's fast. He's quick. He's one of the greatest athletes. It's weird, man. And people just sitting on their thrones of, I have an opinion, so I can say whatever the hell I want. Yeah, I guess you can, but you look like a jackass. David Velasquez, who the hell is in charge of keeping these guys healthy? Our top players are often injured. I mean, yes and no, right? Because let's not forget, the NFL, it's a physical game. It really is. But you look at the way they play, right? Baker Mayfield is a guy that plays with that reckless abandon a lot, but, they do a good job of making sure that he's ready. Rashad White, Evans and Godwin, like stuff like that's going to happen. Our offensive line, for the most part, decent tight end position last year, right? Defensively, Levante, and, there's been some like injuries, but I don't think I look at this Buccaneers team and think it's, oh man, they got to change something with their strength and conditioning. Oh man, they really have to focus on how they manage these guys' health. Like, just because one thing you may disagree with, it doesn't mean there needs to be like an overhaul of their entire system. It doesn't mean you don't question it, but I have a hard time rationalizing why Tristan Wirfs was out there when we were there. I don't get it. I don't get it if you're the Buccaneers. He is so freaking important to this team. And you heard Greg Auman just say it from Fox Sports, and Greg's interview will be up on our channel here at the end. They didn't think it was as bad as it was. I get that. But what Greg said, there's no bigger drop-off from the starter to the backup than left tackle with a guy like Tristan Wirfs. And if you knew a month ago that he would require a knee brace to be able to get through practice, why the hell is he out there in the first place? I don't get that. I understand. You go in you just think it's going to be arthroscopic. Oh, it's just going to be a scope, blah, blah, blah. Clean it up, get in, get out. But what if it's not? What if it's not? What if it was worse? Right? What if it was worse than this? And people go, oh, it's only 4 weeks. They'll get through it. I'm not sitting here being all gloom and doom. I'm not looking at this entire thing and going, oh, wow, the Bucs are screwed. This is going to put them behind the 8 ball so much that they're not going to be able to come back and to win the division. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just focused on what we know. And what we knew, and we're taking the opinion part out of it, which is just, it's a fact. The fact of the matter is that Tristan Wirfs was wearing a right knee brace at camp last month. And he was out there. Why? Chris Godwin wasn't out there. He's not out there. He was out there with his team, but he wasn't out there practicing. Like, what is pushing him in June going to do? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. He's just going to get a scope and everything is going to be fine. Well, it's not. So is this something that the Buccaneers can learn from? I hope so. Because I do, again, I'm not going to go so far, and I'm not going to say negligence, because you can see what they were thinking. They weren't right because it was worse than they thought, but the precautionary measures are taken in sports, and especially the NFL. I know guys are banged up. I know they have to, sustain and, injuries. I know sustain getting hurt and be able to battle through it in the middle of the season. I get that. But you got to be smarter. You got to be smarter when those times out there on the field don't mean anything. This isn't a new, I guess it's a new offense a little bit with Josh Grzar, but it's not completely new, right? He's out there, and I know Tristan didn't take a ton of reps. Like, he wasn't out there taking every rep. I get that, but why is he on his feet at all? Why is he out there at all with a knee brace? He should have been getting – this is something that should have been done earlier on in the season. This is not something that should have been – it shouldn't have been done July 8th. I'm sorry. It's not something that I think I'm going to back off of. Our guy, Jeff Taylor. And if you want to join in via the Super Chat, every donation helps. You want to keep the Jay Recher podcast going, this is a way to do it. $1, $2, $5, like Jeff, $10, $20. Every little bit helps. So please contribute like our friend Jeff Taylor, one of our supreme viewers and listeners. He's definitely on the Mount Rushmore of the Jay Recher podcast viewers. Thank you very much, my friend. Not going to stress the Wirfs injury until I have to, as long as Baker stays relatively clean. From that side, trust will be okay. Thank you very much, Jeff. That's the point, isn't it? The ramifications of this injury may not be felt until week 3, week 4. Who was it? Who was the kid that was the offensive lineman for the Gators? Was it Patchen, I think it was, when Tim Tebow took that big hit and everybody was like, oh. Lucky for the Gators. And congratulations to Tim Tebow and his wife. They just brought their first child into the world. What if Tebow was really hurt there? Then what? Like, what if, and I'm knocking on wood, I don't want this to happen. You guys know I'm way more optimistic than pessimistic about everything, including sports. But what if something does happen with Baker Mayfield? What if somebody comes around that blind side there and he gets waylaid and he's out for 6 weeks or he's out for the year? Then what? Then we're going to look back at this situation with Tristan Wirfs and we're going to say, it shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't be like this. Tristan Wirfs should not have missed the first couple of weeks in the season. He should have been okay. But now, again, you're living in that could, should, would world. That is very, very dangerous. And the Buccaneers, the optimism has gone down for the Tampa Bay sports fan because of what happened. The last person, maybe outside of Baker Mayfield, you want to see get injured. Tristan Wirfs down, and we'll see how it affects the team. And they'll be playing in week 1, the Atlanta Falcons, and this guy covers the Falcons for ESPN, our good buddy Marc Raimondi. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
What's up, Jay? Sorry that I'm not home in my usual
you're
spot. Fine. You don't think that in Atlanta the traffic would be that bad at, noon on a Wednesday, but alas, here we are. I'm in the car.
It works, buddy. It works. And everybody out there, I'm like, what the hell is this package? My roommate gets all these different packages, and I get this one package, and I go, what the hell is this box at my front door? Totally forgot. Here it is right here. Saying hello to the bad guys, baby. How professional wrestling's new world order changed America. Get yours today. I got mine on Amazon. I am traveling. Tomorrow's my last show for 2 weeks. I'm coaching in Alabama, going to New York for vacation. And this was as soon as this came in, I'm like, I will read this entire thing over the next 2 weeks. So excited. Get yours today. I posted the link everywhere. How has the early returns been on the feedback for the book, man? This thing looks pretty badass.
Feedback has been incredible, man. So thrilled to see. Also, when you're putting out, and this because you're a content creator, right? Anytime that you put out a product, there's like a sense of vulnerability, right? You know, that you're putting yourself out there. And a book for me, as a reporter, is a whole different level because it's so big, and it's like, people have to buy it. You know what I mean? It's not just you can't just pop on ESPN.com and read the article. You got to go and buy it. So really a huge thrill for me, and the feedback has just been really really cool to see. Like I woke up this morning to a few messages from friends. They were like, did you see Anthony Jeselnik?
Wow.
Did you see his story? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And apparently, last night, Anthony Jeselnik, the famous comedian, put on his Instagram story, like, just the cover of the book and said, this book is awesome. And that was just like, wow, that's so cool.
Oh my gosh, that guy, his humor, one of a kind, man. And I'm a big comedy guy, and especially like some of the dark comedy that he has. I'm a fan of that stuff. I'm a
fan of his. Yeah, so that was why it was cool, because I'm a fan of his, and I had nothing to do with it, and we didn't send him a book. That was just an accident, and I guess he liked it. So that's dope.
Good for you, man. A happy accident, for sure. All right, so you cover the Falcons. Your initial reaction to Tristan Wirfs, obviously week 1 opponents, man. When you hear something like that, what do you think? And does this open the door for a gap closing? I mean, what is Falcons Nation thinking? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, the truth is, and this is not going to be a surprise to you what I'm about to say. The Falcons' pass rush has been terrible. I mean, it's been very, very bad over the last several seasons. I mean, one of the worst in the entire league for almost a decade now, right? I think since 2019, they've had 30 fewer sacks than any other team in the entire NFL,
Wow.
right? So when you hear that, one of the best offensive linemen on the team on probably the team that you're going to be fighting the NFC South with, right? That's got to be a boon, especially because they made a lot of inroads as far as patching up that issue with the pass rush, especially on the outside with the edge, because they drafted 2 edge rushers right in the first round, and they signed Leonard Floyd, who has not had any fewer than 8.5 sacks in a season since before the pandemic. So those are things that excite you as a Falcons fan, that finally maybe this issue that has been a problem for so long has been addressed, but you don't actually know that until the season starts. But certainly that could be, the first game, a chance for them to show like, hey, this is not your your dad's Falcons anymore. This is a team that can really get after the quarterback.
I've been watching the quarterback documentary on Netflix,
Yeah.
and I'm just have you gone through the whole thing?
I have.
You're a beast, dude. I feel like I was making some really good inroads, and I'm like, okay, man, and I'm like, Mark definitely watched this whole freaking thing already.
Now look, I skipped to watch all the Kirk stuff. I watched
Yeah.
some of the other stuff, but the Kirk stuff was the one that for my job I needed to know.
I mean, let's start in the beginning because we don't want to give everything away for the people that haven't gotten to it
Yeah.
yet. But just
Yeah.
the initial reaction of him coming to the Falcons, and I that was the biggest takeaway for me in the first episode was how woefully, I don't want to say unprepared, but just he was blindsided by the draft selection by Michael Penix Jr. and just the offense. Like, he just looked like a guy that was learning a brand new language. And I know offenses are different around the league, but the pre-snap motion and all these different things. And it was really less of the injury. And everybody's like, oh, the injury. That's why he struggled. Mark, I don't think it really was the injury. I think it was the draft, the new setting, and the offense. It just seemed like there was like a whirlwind around Kirk Cousins going into the season.
And it was I think it was all those things, like you said. It was a whirlwind. Like, there were so many internal and maybe external distractions as well for Cousins. And the line going into the season was that, hey, he's played in one of these McVay Shanahan offenses because he had, Kevin O'Connell as his head coach in Minnesota. So he was used to this type of thing. Zach Robinson, the Falcons offensive coordinator, came from the same tree, right? Had a very similar, at least that was the talk. Hey, yeah, this is a very similar offense to what, Kevin O'Connell has in Minnesota. And it turns out that it was not exactly the same. There were, some differences. And, I think Kirk himself, just getting back to, like, I think one of his lines in the show is that, he felt healthy, but football was different for him after the surgery, right? He was not feeling like himself on a football field, and I think all those things played in. But look, he was able to figure it out, right? Because they went 6-3.
Yeah.
Start the season. They beat the Bucks twice, right? I mean, and he had 509 yards, a franchise record for the Falcons in that Thursday night game. So certainly he figured it out eventually, until he got hurt in his arm later in the season.
Yeah, and then now it's just like, where does this leave him now, right? I mean, it's just such a unique thing. Is it just waiting for somebody else to get banged up around the league so they can move on from him? Because listen, you commit a ton of money to the guy, and then now you're coming out with Michael Penix Jr. You're going to be a starter for the 2025 season. Where is Kirk Cousins as far as, obviously he's in limbo, but is it kind of like a wait and see approach now for him?
It is. It's completely a wait and see approach. And look, you know this, Jay. Quarterbacks go down every season. There's no season where every quarterback remains healthy. It's going to happen. It just needs to be the right situation for a trade, right? It needs to be a team that could be a contender. Their guy goes down. Hey, Kirk Cousins, you can plug him in, and I think he's still a winning quarterback in the NFL. Personally, I really do. I really do. I think he showed at the beginning of last year, even after the Achilles surgery. They went 6-3. He played real well until he got hit in Week 10, and then his arm was messed up, and that was not a good combination with the Achilles as well. So I think it's a matter of someone going down, and also I would like to add, one of those people going down could be Michael Penix Jr. I mean, he had 4 season-ending injuries in college. He has had an issue with injuries, so that's not something that would be a complete shock. And if that happens, hey, again, slide Kirk Cousins back in. Now, I don't think anyone in Atlanta really wants that because of the drama that it could create, right, with Cousins starting games in 2025, but it's a possibility, Jay. There's a possibility that Kirk Cousins is starting games for the Atlanta Falcons this season. I know. It's
didn't
crazy.
even think about that, man. And it's right. And it's so unique here in Tampa because Michael Penix Jr. is from this neck of the woods, man.
That's right.
So, like, we followed him. Like,
very well liked, right?
Yeah, we
Just
love
a great
this.
kid.
And it's just like that was the thing is there was a big part here in the Bay Area of like surprise when that selection went down, but also like, damn, man. Like, it would have been nice if he was picked by the Raiders or the Seattle, and it was like, we don't really see him. We can cheer for our guy from afar. But when you go to the Falcons, it's like, shit, now we got to dislike the guy. Forget about not liking the guy. Now we got to dislike the guy. What was it like covering the team and being around like a guy like Raheem Morris? Because again, he's got Tampa ties here. Too much of a player's coach. I mean, he was out here partying with some of the guys, and it just did not work out. And it was a long road back for him to be able to get his second opportunity. What was it like covering him? What is kind of the overall perception of him as a head coach? Maybe not as a leader, because I think he's probably well liked, but as far as X's and O's and game and man management, what are Falcons fans saying about him? How excited are they about his second year with the team?
I think it's a critical year for him, to be honest with you. I think that he's been a good leader, and I don't think there's a guy in that locker room that doesn't like Raheem Morris. I think that, like you said, he's one of those guys. He is a player's coach. I do think that he has matured considerably since that first chance with the Bucs. He's now, I think, more of like, an uncle figure to these guys. He's Unc right now to these guys rather than being like a peer, because he was so young when he got that job with the Bucs. I mean, so incredibly young. Now he's almost 50. So I think it's different, and he's learned a lot. And especially like the thing about Raheem, it's like he learned from Shanahan. He learned from Tony Dungy. Herm Edwards was a mentor of his. And he's learned from McVay. It's like Kyle Shanahan, of course, too. These are all guys that were either on his staff or they were the head coach and he was the defensive coordinator. So he has, Gruden. Gruden's a guy that he learned a ton from. So I think that Mike Tomlin also has been a mentor. So it's like all of these great minds have, and he has taken something from all of those guys, and now it's just a matter of applying it in his own, in his own team. And I think you saw, their defense get better last year when he became more hands-on after the bye week, right? And of course, the defensive coordinator Jimmy Lake ended up getting fired at the end of the season. So I think, there's no doubt he's a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator, right? Raheem Morris is, he's a great defensive mind, and now it's just a matter of, is the personnel there, and is the staff right, and is the system right for that personnel and that staff? And these are all things that, it's the NFL, right? You need all those things working for you, and if one is not, it's tough to win because it's such a freaking competitive league.
Yeah, even if everything's going well and you have the right guys in place, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win. Right. It's hard enough. It's hard enough.
Yeah, and then there's so many variables.
Yeah, Buffalo,
so many variables.
Baltimore, and Cincinnati. I mean, you do so many good things, and still at the end of the day, it might not even matter. What's the deal with our guy Kyle Pitts? I know a lot of Gators fans here locally. We saw him at Florida. We're like, this guy's legit. And then, first round pick, it just hasn't worked, regardless of who the quarterback is. Mariota, Ritter, Cousins, Penix Jr. I mean, he has flashes. He has some good moments, but then you look at it and it's like, you're drafting that guy in the first round as a tight end, top 10 pick. You're thinking this guy's going to be a multi-time Pro Bowler, all pro guy, possibly wearing a gold jacket one day. What's the story with Kyle Pitts? Is this kind of his swan song with the team? I've seen some trade proposals over the last 6-7 months. I mean, what's the deal with Kyle Pitts? Is it ever going to work out there as they anticipated?
It's hard to say. This is, again, talking about critical years. This is the pivotal year for Kyle Pitts because it's a contract year, right? This is his 5th year, and he has no contract after this year. And he's the kind of guy that with a big year, he can make a lot of money for himself in 2026 and beyond because he has the things that you can't teach, right? He has all of the athletic ability and the size and the speed and the hands, right? He is, they call him the unicorn, right? He has all of the traits that you could possibly want. That's why they drafted him.
Right.
And we've seen him put it together as a rookie. He put it together, and he's had, injury issues, and he's dealing with one right now, which has got to be a concern for Falcons fans, right? He's got a foot injury, and he missed all of the offseason practices, which is not a great sign. They hope to have him back for training camp. But it really is like that. I'm not asked about anyone more than about Kyle Pitts when I'm doing interviews or fans, or it is always Kyle Pitts. Always. It's like the quarterbacks and Kyle Pitts. And the truth is that I don't think anyone knows what, because this is going to be his, fifth quarterback now in in 5 seasons. Sixth, Matt Ryan, Desmond Ridder, Marcus Mariota, Kirk Cousins, and now Michael Penix. So it's been a lot of turnover. Last year he had issues early on adjusting to Zach Robinson's new scheme, right? He was running more 11 personnel, which he didn't do as much previously. And then they kind of made that shift a little bit midseason where they were running more 12 personnel. So it's he's a guy that, if he has a good season, you can see the Falcons in the playoff race and maybe winning the division. If he doesn't, who knows? And a lot of that, and you don't want to put too much on a guy who's like a rookie and a half, which is Michael Penix, right? He's not a rookie, but he only started 3 games last year. Is he the guy that can unlock Kyle Pitts? It looked like maybe at the end of the season last year there were some big plays, but it's so hard to say. And like trying to predict Kyle Pitts at this point, I think is a fool's errand.
Yeah, you got that right, buddy. All right, before I let you go, our guilty pleasure. We always have to finish off talking some wrestling. Of course, get your book today. Say hello to the bad guys, Amazon.com. What's the deal? What do you think is going to be the biggest storyline coming out of this weekend? Saturday night's main event, the Evolution pay-per-view. I mean, it's a great week for wrestling. All in, obviously. It's great. This is a great time. There's a lot, and I hate kind of the infighting, and I know it's tribalistic, and it was like that when we were growing up too with the WWE and WCW. But I watched both, so it didn't matter to me. I watched Saturday Night Main Event at 5:05. Right, I was like, what the hell? There's radios. Like as a kid that grew up on Long Island, and I was a big Yankee fan, traditional whatever New Yorker. Like I loved watching the Braves. I loved watching WCW Saturday night. And I just remember going, wow, like and seeing the crossover and seeing the Dangerous Alliance and seeing Paul Heyman before he was Paul Heyman, when he was Paulie Dangerously, right? And then now, like we look at it, and it's just I love that you look at AEW, and it's a lot different than maybe when it first started. But man, there's a lot of high profile names. I love Okada and Omega are going at it. I love the women. Mercedes Moné and Toni Storm are going to be wrestling. But I want to ask you about the WWE side. And when you look at this weekend, what is the one match? What is the one storyline that you're keeping an eye on through the 2 PLEs?
I think it has to be, sorry, Bucks fans, but it has to be former Falcons and Georgia Bulldogs player Goldberg. What is going to happen with him in his big match against Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship? That's on Saturday night. Does Seth Rollins cash in at some point? Does Goldberg get a big win and get the title and have a mini run in his retirement run, with the belt? I don't know. And I think that's going to be probably the most compelling thing coming out of WWE. And then Evolution, I think like I went to the first one. I brought my niece, and it was so fun. It was terrific. And I can't go this year because I have to go to Bristol, Connecticut for an ESPN thing this weekend and next week. So I can't go, and I'm bummed out because I live in Atlanta, right? I live here. So it's brutal, but I think it'll be a great show. I think that whenever they've given the women the platform, they've always delivered. Like they go above and beyond. So I think it'll be a great show. And then as far as the AEW, man, I think that show is stacked. I mean, it is absolutely loaded from top to bottom. I can't wait to watch it all. I think it's so healthy, for wrestling that we're even having this conversation, Jay, that there's the second promotion is running a show at a baseball stadium in front of more than 20,000 people with a stacked roster, right? And then WWE is running 3 shows in Atlanta that are all going to be successful too. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and no doubt. And it's kind of weird. Evolution, no Liv Morgan, no Bianca Belair, and they can still put on a tremendous card. Last thing, Cena, Cody Rhodes, how does that next 6-8 weeks go? Do we see a double turn at some point before the end of the year, you think?
That's been the talk. I mean, one thing I will say for sure is that Cena definitely has to turn babyface before the final farewell, right? Because no one is interested in booing John Cena in this final few months. And in fact, I would say the heel turn has been kind of, más o menos. It hasn't been it hasn't hit as hard as I think people thought it could. It was too late, frankly. You know, no one wants to boo Cena right now. It's his last. It's our last chance to see him. You know what I mean? So, I do think that he'll turn. I don't know if it's the right thing to turn Cody heel at this point. I don't know. Maybe it is. You know, maybe it is. I worry about that because I still feel like there's more juice in him as the top babyface in the company. Cena's gone. You know, Cena's gone after December, and you still need a top babyface. And I'm not sure if Roman Reigns really fits that role. He's so good as kind of like the heel that blurs the lines, like the tweener, where fans like him, but he still does bad things, right? Kind of like the NWO. So I don't know if you pull the trigger on Cody turning just yet. Maybe you do. It's a risk either way. I'm just curious to see what they do, you know. And I just think and I hope that it'll be a better match than WrestleMania because I really did not dig that main event with Cody and Cena.
No, I didn't either. And listen, I understand the heel turn, and I understand a lot of people thought it was great, but it was not better than this one. This is the book you got to get. Say hello to the bad guys right there. How Professional Wrestling's New World Order changed America. It did. Dennis Rodman was involved. Jay Leno was involved. And this was the greatest heel turn. And you don't believe me? Just look at what the last couple of months has been like with John Cena. Nobody wants to boo one of the biggest baby faces of all time when it's the last time he's coming to your city. And the WWE does such a great job of listening to their fan base sometimes and changing things along the way. But something like this, I get it. It was shock and awe. It was great. But if I'm a guy and I've been a John Cena fan for 25 years and he's coming to Tampa, Florida, I don't want to go there and boo him. I want to go and cheer him. I want to give him his flowers. I want to show some respect, and then I want to move on. So I get it. It was good, but when you don't follow it up and there's no Travis Scott, there's no Rock after the fact at WrestleMania, it's like, I'm good. That's why this is the best heel turn of all time. Get your book today, Amazon, wherever you can get, wherever these books are sold, man. Just look it up. You'll find it. And, of course, I'll be posting it on social media. Mark, appreciate your time. Continued success. The book is awesome. I was just thumbing through it before, and I was just like, I got to read the entire thing anyway. So I just I got to put it down because then if I start reading it, I'm not going to be able to put it down. Continued success. Have a great weekend, my friend. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
You got it, pal. The man, this guy, you want to talk about talent. He's one of the most talented people in our industry. And if you want to get the book, again, check it out on Amazon. I put in his name, Marc Raimondi, NWO book. Boom, it's right there. So it's a long title, but we love it. And it's got the blood splatter too on the book, which is so freaking awesome. Oh, I love this. Compelling narrative history of professional wrestling's legendary factor from inception to enduring influence of American pop culture. I mean, that's the great thing. I mean, wrestling is Americana. It is, man. You just tie it all in together. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Recher, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe right now on Facebook. We've been talking all day about Tristan Wirfs and his injury and what that means to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you missed that discussion with Greg Auman, it's going to be up on our channel here in a little bit. Of course, Marc Raimondi gave us his opinion from the Falcons side, with him being the Falcons beat writer for ESPN. But it's just, man, it sucks. It really does. It sucks because you have a guy that is so freaking talented. And listen, not many people are going to want to say this, but when you come back in week 4 or week 5, like, you're susceptible to getting banged up again. You're susceptible to another injury or maybe overcompensating. You don't know. You don't know. These situations where guys are, not healthy going into the season, we've seen it have some lingering effects. We've seen it with Kalijah. We've seen it with Vita Vea. We've seen it with Chris Godwin, right? So that's something to certainly be cognizant of going into the 2025 season. Now you start wondering, okay, Benjamin Morrison's not 100%. Chris Godwin's not 100%. Tristan Wirfs isn't 100%. We're not talking about the middle of the season when nobody's 100%. We're talking about before the year even starts. Are you worried as a Buccaneers fan dealing with some of those injuries to Tristan Wirfs, to Chris Godwin, to Benjamin Morrison, who a lot of people are thinking, oh, this is like 2 first-round picks. Well, if he hasn't even suited up in the NFL one time, and we're already talking about an injury history with the kid, that's not good. It's not good. Robert Cochran, what's up, buddy? Did you see Chet signed his extension? Only guy left is J-Dub. Yes, good for him. Benny says, Orlando Magic winning the NBA Finals this year. There is a lot of people in on the Orlando Magic looking at what they can do and how much better that they can get, especially in the wide open Eastern Conference. So that should be fun. Desmond Bain, a huge pickup for them. Paolo Banchero signs his deal, big max contract for him. I'm excited to see what Orlando can bring to the table. Let's tell you about my friend over at thehonesthammer.com. Go check him out. You're talking about a guy that's a big-time Tampa Bay sports fan. Look no further than our guy Russ and the friends that we've got over at thehonesthammer.com. 813-244-0956. They do it all for you. You think about it. As a licensed and insured Florida general contractor, CGC 153-1166. No project too big, no project too small. Listen, pre-engineered metal buildings, bathroom remodels, kitchen remodels, interior structural renovations, new construction, commercial construction, residential, commercial. He can help you out. Just look at some of these things, the renovations that they're able to do. Look at some of the lighting, look at the effort that you're going to put in. And this is a local company, guys. We're always so concerned with supporting local. I talk about it when we're talking about the Tampa Bay Times or Lighting Insider or Pewter Report, Joe Bucks fan, all of our pals here in the Tampa Bay area. The way that this continues to grow and the way that our community continues to get better is by supporting our local businesses. If you're looking for any type of work to get done, give my buddy a shout at Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, 813-244-0956. You see the QR code there. The QR code is up during the interviews and during the layout. And when you go back and watch our show here on the Jay Recher podcast, you're always going to be able to hear Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast, and they will take care of you. Benny, get Brandon Kravitz on the pod to talk Orlando Magic. You know that, man. You know this. This will happen. Tomorrow on the program, we got Mark Topkin at 1 o'clock joining us from the Tampa Bay Rays, the Rays insider for the Tampa Bay Times, excuse me. We also have the brand new head coach for our Tampa Bay Rowdies joining us on the program tomorrow at 1:30, Dominic Casiato, the coach of our Tampa Bay Rowdies at 1:30 tomorrow. Cannot wait to chat with him. We'll break it all down. It's our final show before summer vacation. I am heading to Alabama on Friday for a baseball tournament. Our games are Saturday, Sunday, Monday. If we win, we advance to Tuesday, and then we'll see how far it goes. I fly to New York after that to spend some time with the family. Uncle Jay putting his Uncle Jay hat on, babysitting my nieces and nephews. There's 6 of them now between the ages of 6 months and 7. 6 months and 7. It gets crazy. It really does. And then after that, being there for 9 days, and I'll be camping in the woods. Last year when I was camping was when the whole when the whole thing went down with Steven Stamkos and Jake Gensel. So if big news is happening, it'll be when I'm up in New York. And then finally, I meet the team back in North Carolina. So I'll be flying to Raleigh on the 24th, and there's a showcase there at Gardner-Webb University, the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th. So our big thing with me and this team is trying to get these young student athletes an opportunity to play at the next level, playing even if it's not D1 or D2, finding D3 schools, finding JUCO schools. Hit Factory has given me the opportunity to be able to get out there and to be able to work with these kids. And we had a fantastic practice today. And, you know, it's not so much anymore about baseball knowledge. It's a lot more about communication and how you communicate with people. So in any aspect of life, just focus on your communication skills and how you talk to people, because it really does go a long way. Shiver me timbers, not too worried yet. Why ruin my summer with worries? I'll freak out about the injuries and my debt come late September. That is a Buccaneers fan through and through. I'm not overly, I question it. I question what happened. But I'm not like panicking. I'm not freaking out because the Buccaneers have a lot of good players, and I think they're going to be able to make up for the Godwin injury. And, we'll see what happens with Benjamin Morrison. You still have Dean and Zion McCollum, right? You still have a bunch of other good players. You bring back Bryce Hall, hopefully okay this year and not get banged up in week 1. So, I think they'll be okay. Shiver. Adirondacks, nice area. I'm from southern Vermont originally, so I've done some camping and hiking in upstate New York. Enjoy. I actually have been to Vermont a couple of times. I went skiing at Smuggler's Notch twice. So that was when I was in high school, Smuggler's Notch. Really good time there. I actually skied one time. This is a great story. And we're about to get into the Isaac Howard stuff. So just bear with me for a personal story. So we're skiing, and it was just so nice outside. I had this brand new Yankee hat, and I couldn't find it, right? Couldn't find it. I'm so pissed. I have this hoodie on. I wear this hoodie all day, and we go skiing. I'm just like, I'm pissed. Brand new hat. I just got it before we left. So morning, afternoon, at night, I'm pissed off. I can't find this hat. And at the end of the night, it's like midnight. We're about to go to sleep, and I'm sitting in this chair. And I'm like, fuck, man, I can't. Where the hell did my hat go? We looked everywhere. I was a senior at the time. We had freshmen and sophomores looking for it. They were so nice. They were trying to help me. And at the end of the night, I'm just sitting in this chair. I just like, I can't believe I lost my hat, man. So irresponsible. There's no way I lost this on the slopes. And I go like this. And I put my freaking hood up on my head, and my hat was in my hood the entire time. We were looking for 15 hours for my hat, and the entire time it was in my hood behind my head. Freaking hilarious. I felt so bad. I had to apologize to everybody. I said, thank you guys so much for trying to help me find my hat, but it was in my hood the whole time. We got a good laugh out of it. But yeah, Smuggler's Notch. Mount Snow was our hometown mountain. Sorry, buddy. But yeah, great snow and great people up there. And you're right. Always in the last place you left it. Okay. You ready for this? Let me take a drink before we unload. Some people will talk about this trade today, but nobody's going to talk about it like this today. And that's why you're here on the Recher podcast, because we're not just going to give you some BS kind of overview of what happened. We're going to take a deep dive and tell you why this trade between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Edmonton Oilers is more than what meets the eye. It's more than what these two guys can bring on the ice. So the news came down yesterday, and I posted this. I was actually at softball last night, a little before 10 o'clock, and the Lightning sent the email out to all of us here in the Tampa Bay media, and I'll read it for you. The Tampa Bay Lightning have acquired forward Sam O'Reilly from the Edmonton Oilers in exchange for forward Isaac Howard, Vice President and General Manager Julien BriseBois announced today. O'Reilly skated in 62 regular season games with the London Knights of the Ontario Hockey League last season, recording 28 goals and 71 points with a plus 56 rating. The Toronto, Ontario native proceeded to play in 17 games during the OHL playoffs, logging 7 goals and 22 points with a plus 24 rating to help the Knights win the J. Ross Robertson Cup as OHL champions for a second straight season. His 22 postseason points and plus 24 rating both ranked third among all London skaters. Following the OHL playoffs, O'Reilly played a key role in the Knights winning the organization's third Memorial Cup, skating in 5 games and recording 2 goals and 5 points, including the primary assist on the game-winning goal in the championship game. Over the past 2 seasons, the 6'1", 190-pound forward has appeared in 130 regular season games with London, accruing 48 goals and 127 points with a plus 88 rating and 11 power play tallies. A 2-time OHL champion. He skated in 33 postseason contests over the past 2 seasons, registering 12 goals and 34 points with a plus 26 rating. He was originally drafted by the Oilers in the first round, 32nd overall of the 2024 NHL draft. So, when that happened, I started watching and researching the shit out of Sam O'Reilly. And I'm talking about digging into his past and watching old interviews and reading draft profiles on this kid. And there are people that are going to make the obvious comparison to Anthony Cirelli, and that's fine. But again, every single time the Lightning get a forward that has some defensive capability, like an Ethan Zada, their second-round pick this year, like this kid, Sam O'Reilly, let's not just say that every single guy is Anthony Cirelli, because Tony is a badass, 2-time Stanley Cup champion. They just won the 4 Nations. He's probably going to be on Team Canada for the Olympics. Let's not just say that every single forward that we like defensively is Anthony Cirelli. Let's go a little bit deeper. Go a little bit deeper with this entire thing. And before we get back to Sam O'Reilly, this whole Isaac Howard thing is really, really funky. Going through this process, again, back to the fireside chats last year with Julian Brisebois, he brought up the fact that there was a possibility that Isaac Howard would join the Tampa Bay Lightning at some point for the 2024-2025 season. We know that didn't happen. We know that the Lightning would have preferred that Isaac Howard go to Syracuse in the AHL and to play there. That is not what happened, and that is not what Isaac Howard wanted. Now, first off, do you agree to that? And then you have a fantastic season at Michigan State, and then you change your freaking mind? Like, I don't understand what happened with Isaac Howard. I really don't. I don't understand how you think you are going to come to an organization that does not do what these other teams do. They're not Colorado. They're not going to treat you like Cale Makar. Boom, right into the starting lineup. They're not the Rangers. They did it 10 years ago with Chris Kreider. They did it last year with Gabe Perreault. They're not the Washington Capitals that did it last year with Ryan Leonard. Julian Brisebois and the Tampa Bay Lightning, this is the way they go about their business. Now, could there have been a possibility that he goes to the AHL for a couple games and then joins the team in the postseason? When Oliver Bjorkstrand was banged up, when Brandon Hagel got knocked out of that series, maybe. I just find it so intriguing that Isaac Howard and his camp thought that they held the cards in this entire situation. They didn't. You're talking about one of the most respected franchises in all of sports, and this is the way you went about your business? He ended up getting what he wanted. He gets traded to Edmonton. He signed a 3-year entry-level contract. So he's done at Michigan State. He's done. He's not going back to the Spartans, which he just said a couple of weeks ago that he was excited to go to Michigan State. That's why I'm telling you right now. You're going to talk about why O'Reilly looks like Anthony Cirelli. People are going to, crap all over Isaac Howard. But I want you to focus on the two things. And regardless, you don't like Isaac Howard, you're going to compare him to Jonathan Drouin. Yes, of course. I think those guys will be linked forever. Forever. Two high drafted kids, two guys that thought that were going to be part of the future, and it did not work out. Drouin looked miserable out there. Isaac Howard never even suited up for the Bolts. But just think about how Isaac Howard went about this situation. It just doesn't make any sense. It ended up working out for the kid. But I would be weary if I were the team that acquired him because of the way he handled the situation with the Tampa Bay Lightning. You thought you were so special that the team was going to treat you differently than everybody else. What kind of precedent does that set? What happens to the next guy that has a decent college year and then he's going to hold the team for ransom? No, that's not going to happen. Teams that have a foundation, teams that have a moral, teams that have values, teams like the Tampa Bay Lightning, that's how you sustain success, not by bending over to every single guy that thinks they have leverage on you. Isaac Howard now is going to be with the Edmonton Oilers next year. Why couldn't he have been with the Lightning? How come we couldn't have gotten to a point where, all right, it didn't work out last year. It didn't work. There was a miscommunication. Why couldn't the Tampa Bay Lightning sign him to an entry-level contract after the season was over? And let's say he doesn't go to prospect development camp like we saw last year. Maybe he goes to training camp with the Lightning. If he doesn't make the team, he goes to the AHL. Maybe he's the first guy that gets called up. Think about this, guys. Nobody's talking about this shit. Nobody. Why couldn't he do that? Why couldn't Isaac Howard say, hey, miscommunication, not just him, his camp, miscommunication on our part. I would have really liked to have skipped the AHL, but that's not how you guys do business. Fine. I'll sign my entry-level contract with you guys. and we'll go forward. Training camp, I'll do my best to make the team out of camp. If not, I'll go to the AHL for a couple of games and then go from there. He didn't want to do that. He didn't want to humble himself enough to go the route that so many of these other players in the Lightning organization have gone down. If you think you're too good for that, good riddance. We'll pack the door. We'll pack your bags for you. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Deuces, my brother. If you think, once again, that one of the most respected franchises in all of professional sports is going to bend over for you, and that is the way you go about your business, not a good fit. Go to Edmonton, enjoy the winters there, have fun, buddy. Have fun. I don't want any part of it. No, thank you. You don't need that type of player in your locker room. Part of the reason why the Tampa Bay Lightning have been so good is because from the top down, they've been busting their ass. They go about it the right way. They're the hardest workers on this team. I've been very vocal in where I think Nikita Kucherov can make up the gap when it comes to his relationship with the media and things like that. But nobody's outworking that guy. And that's the reason why they put the A on his chest, is because he works his freaking ass off. He leads by example when it comes to the work ethic on the ice, off the ice, getting prepared for the season. Guys like Steven Stamkos did not go to Toronto. He did not go to Detroit when he signed that big contract, 8 years ago or so. He took less money so that you can sign Point. You can sign Kucherov. You can sign Vasi. You can sign Hedman. You can sign all these different guys. How hard does Braden Point work? Braden Point was a guy that couldn't skate. Remember, he couldn't skate. And then a couple of years ago in the freaking fastest skater competition, he's up there going toe-to-toe with Matthew Barzal and Connor McDavid. Think about that. Guys that work hard. You're not seeing Jake Gensel not work hard. Sorelli? Hagel? Really? Nick Paul? Even the guys in the lower third, the bottom six last year, Glendening, Gergensons, those guys don't work hard. Yanni Gourde, think about that. Isaac Howard did not fit here. And if I'm an Edmonton fan, I'm super excited about the skill and what he can do as far as lengthening their lineup. Maybe when you get Zach Hyman back, now you can have two good lines. You got to have McDavid on a line with Hyman and Nugent Hopkins, and you have Draisaitl with Isaac Howard. Yeah, I can understand why you think that would work. But the way that this kid in his camp went about his business doesn't jive. Doesn't jive what we've come to love here about this Tampa Bay Lightning organization. So again, good riddance to you. I'm not just one of those people that's just going to be on the surface area. Oh, you suck. You're a bitch. Blah, blah. I'm not going to call you names. He's a kid at the end of the day. I do not like, it's not personal. I did not like his business decisions. But how he went about his business during this entire process shows that he is not a good fit for the Lightning. Fine. I even said this back when I was coaching. I will take a less talented player if he's a better teammate, if he has a better family environment, if he's more willing to do more things on the baseball field. I only play one position. I don't want a kid like that. I don't care how hard you throw. Coach, I'll play wherever you put me. Whatever you need. Those are the kind of guys you win with. This is a long-term play for the Tampa Bay Lightning. When you look at the acquisition of Sam O'Reilly and you're looking at the trade out for Isaac Howard. Edmonton's looking, how can this guy help me right now? Lightning are looking at Sam O'Reilly, Ethan Zada, Ethan Gauthier. 2 or 3 years from now, those guys are going to be busting their way into this Tampa Bay Lightning lineup. What do I like about Sam O'Reilly? So, again, I watched probably 3 or 4 long videos of his play. I've also watched interviews and draft profiles. Everybody's like, oh, he's just like Anthony Cirelli. All the draft profiles I was looking at last night, it was all like he's a Sam Reinhart type player. He's a Matthew Tkachuk type player. He's a who's the other guy? Bo Horvat. Nazem Kadri. Nobody said Anthony Cirelli. The only reason why people are saying Anthony Cirelli is because of some of the success he had in the OHL, and also, got traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning. For those wondering, the difference between they're like, oh, he won the OHL and then he went to the Memorial Cup. So the OHL is one of the leagues in Canada. If you win that league, one of the three, you get an opportunity to play in the Memorial Cup. If you do that, then it's a round robin with 3 other teams, and then there's a semifinal and a final. So they not only won the Ontario Hockey League, but then when they went to the Memorial Cup, they even lost to Medicine Hat, and they ended up playing them in the finals a little bit later and won. And this kid is a postseason player. So if that's the comparison that you want to make with Anthony Cirelli, fine. But there's a couple of things that are a lot different to me. First off, he's a right-handed shot. That's, to me, it's tough for me to look at players when one's a righty and one's a lefty and then compare them to the two. It's a different game. It is, especially with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Look at what happened last year. They had big-time issues with a right-handed shot being able to win faceoffs. That's why at the end of the games, when they pull the goalie, they put Luke Glendening, their fourth-line center, out there to win a draw. That's not ideal. That's not ideal. Other teams can go out there with multiple guys. Braden Point does not do a great job of winning faceoffs. That's part of the reason why I looked at Steven Stamkos and how much better he's gotten over the years at winning faceoff draws. Nobody's mentioning this when Stamkos, everybody's like 5-on-5, 5-on-5. There's more. It's more than that. It's more than what he can do on the power play. It's more about the leader. The dude's getting better at winning draws, and he's going to be out there anyway. Last year, you didn't have a right-hander to win a draw, and you had your fourth-line center out there, and you would try to get him off the ice. Think about that. Lightning trying to win games late in the third period last year, and Luke Glendening was on the ice. So a right-handed shot, different than a left-hand shot, okay? He's also, Cirelli's a guy to me that, he bends over a little bit, and he's a guy that does a really good job of being on his edges. That's not what I see from Sam O'Reilly. That's something that he has to work on, and he says that himself. So when I look at those two guys, I don't, he's a 200-foot player, which is great. He takes pride in the defensive zone. That's great. And he's had some success at the minor level, and I get that. But that is where the comparisons end for me when it comes to him and Anthony Cirelli. Just watch the tape. People that are saying that, go watch some film on the kid. They don't look alike. And I like that Sam goes into the dirty areas. I like that he's a right-handed shot because this team needs that. Here's some of the other more important things. And again, as much as we talk about on the ice stuff, the off the ice stuff, and the way that this kid carries himself is way more of a Lightning player than Isaac Howard will ever be. When he got drafted by Edmonton, now mind you, Edmonton is a team that has been really good the last couple of years, but they haven't gotten over the hump. And they know they need to strike while the iron's hot for a guy like Connor McDavid. And even though they draft this kid and they know he's a couple of years away, you're thinking Connor's going to be here for the next 10, 12 years. This kid can come in there and be that second or third line center behind Connor McDavid, right? You're the Edmonton Oilers. You traded conditional pick last year in the draft to go back in to the 32nd pick. You make this trade with the Philadelphia Flyers and you draft this kid. So the fact that a team that's contending right now for championships traded back in to the first round, right? First round or whatever the 32nd pick was, right? I always get jacked up when it comes to 30. Yes, 30. I always get jacked up when it's 30 and 32 teams. That's the one number for all the sports. I get it boggles my mind sometimes. That's why a team like the Edmonton Oilers would trade back into the first round, number 32 overall with the Philadelphia Flyers, to go get that kid, because that's how highly they thought of him. And then when this kid gets interviewed, what does he say? He says, I was so happy when I got drafted, but it was so great to see my mom and my sisters, because they had a lot to do with me getting selected. Family guy. Love that. Also, another question he was asked was, hey, what should people know about you off the ice? Not the player, off the ice. And he says, that I'm a happy guy and I'm a good guy. Like when somebody says that they're a good guy or they want to be perceived as a good guy, some people could look at that and go like, like he's maybe full of himself. I don't look at it like that. I look at it, that matters to him. Like it matters to him what people's perception of him is. And when you have that heightened sensibility of making sure that you're doing right by people because you want to be known as a good guy, that to me shows somebody that's grounded, somebody that's got a good background, got a good history with their family. I love those type of answers. I think you learn more about guys, professional athletes, when they give those type of answers rather than they talk about themselves as a player. Here's another thing that makes him different than Anthony Cirelli. This is a kid that grew up playing on defense. He was a defenseman. Then he moved to right wing, and then they moved him in the center his first year in London. And I don't even know if we've reached the tip of the iceberg or even anywhere close to the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the offense for this kid. He grew up playing defense. So on one side of it, you look at it as this guy, and he said it. I love what he said. He's like, I'm not going to be one of those cherry picking guys. I know how important it is to take care of your own zone. That's music to your ears as a Lightning hockey fan. But also it shows like, bro, when you go out there and now you're in the offensive end, you can grow even more. The kid's a really, really good passer. I don't know if he's ever going to be like a sniper. I think he's going to be more like a playmaker. But if you're a center, there's nothing wrong with that. Not at all. There is a maturity to his game. He mentioned, again, I said this before. I'll get to that in a second because I want to finish with that. All right. Some of the other things about this kid to really, really like. He said, I'm an old school player. I focus on the little things. Oh, does that sound familiar? I'm an old school player. I focus on the little things. And that is why my game translates to the playoffs. That's why I play some of my best hockey in the postseason. And you heard him say in the 2023 season there in London, he started getting more and more ice time as the year went on because he earned the trust of his coaching staff. Trust, leadership, communication, defensive responsibility. I mean, could the Lightning have acquired a better person, a better prospect than this kid? A right-handed middle six center that is only going to get better? I would be absolutely shocked if this kid doesn't take a tremendous leap forward in the next year or two. He's going to probably go back to, you're not going to see him for 2 years. That's just the way it goes. You're not going to see him for 2 years. But when you do, I really think this is a guy that's going to be here, and he's going to be here to stay. You look at this deal, and people are going to say, oh, this team got fleeced. I think both teams win in this deal. I think if you're Edmonton, you look at being the bridesmaid the last 2 years. What can we do to inject some youthful energy into this team? How can we lengthen out our offense? Isaac Howard is a really, really good addition to your team if that is what you're looking for. We'll see how it works out. If you're the Tampa Bay Lightning, you're building for 2 to 3 years down the road. You're building for that next crop of guys to come in. Now, do I think that they need to get better now and next year? Yes, I do. And that's why I've been very vocal in my concerns of not doing enough to get this team ready to be battling it out with Edmonton, with the Florida Panthers. But I look down the line and look at what they have coming in about 2-3 years. Watch out for the Bolts. That next wave of young players should make a huge difference with this franchise. Now, what does he need to work on? What are the things that he needs to work on? And this is kind of the last thing, and this is the thing right here where I have optimism when it comes to him and his role with the Tampa Bay Lightning. A lot of people, himself included, said he needs to work on his skating and his speed and making quick cuts and getting on his edges. Well, interesting enough, the Tampa Bay Lightning have Barb Underhill, the skating coach that has done wonders for Braden Point, for Carter Verhaeghe, for a lot of these other young players within the organization where, yeah, maybe they're not the greatest skater. Can you imagine scouting a guy like Braden Point all those years ago and then going back to your team and saying that he's not a good skater? If you're a scout, you must look back at your pre-draft analysis and workup of Braden Point and go, I was either totally wrong or the Tampa Bay Lightning have a magician as their skating coach. Well, we know the latter is true. Maybe the former is as well. If you give me a guy that has a mental makeup of the Sam O'Reilly, I will take a guy like that within the Lightning organization 7 days a week and twice on Sunday over a guy like Isaac Howard, who may have all the talent in the world. He'll have a Hobie Baker trophy in his man cave for the rest of his life, but a guy that went about his business in such a poor way that it painted him in such a negative light here in the Tampa Bay area that he will forever be booed when he steps inside of Amalie Arena. Never going to stop. It's going to be like that for his entire career. And how is it going to work out for him? He may have flashes of brilliance like we've seen with Jonathan Drouin. Jonathan Drouin also benefited big time from being close friends with Nathan McKinnon. That's why he got a lot of love there in Colorado. He got those opportunities. He got opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. Is Isaac Howard going to be afforded those same opportunities? We don't know. But just keep an eye on the career of Isaac Howard short term and Sam O'Reilly long term. I think it's going to be a very interesting story that plays out. So that's kind of my entire thought process of the trade. 26 minutes, bing, bang, boom. A lot of people wanted to know last night on Twitter, and I was like, man, I can't just type this out. We got to talk about it. But when people go out there and they say Sam O'Reilly, just like Anthony Cirelli, just point them back to our discussion that we just had and just say that it goes way deeper than that. Julian Brisebois said this for many, many years. It's not always about the players that they bring in. It's about the people. I speak about that with Nick Paul a lot. It seems our conversations always circle back to that. The people. I've said it before here on the program, and I'll say it again. When Nick Paul got traded here, he was sitting at a bus stop in Ottawa, and he was like blown away with the wives and the girlfriends, with Sandra Stamkos and all the women and girlfriends with the Bolts, and how they already reached out to his girlfriend before he even spoke to us. That means something. But that doesn't happen by accident. You know how it happens? When you have good leaders in place and you have good people up and down your organization. That's why I think it's a great deal for the Tampa Bay Lightning. What do I feel? Is it a great deal for the Oilers? Yeah, again, fine. Do what you got to do. That's what you think is the right pick. I think it's a risk worth taking if you're Edmonton. Some people are going to say, oh, the Lightning could have got more. Nah, I don't think you could have. You get a guy like Sam O'Reilly who's a first-round pick, who's got a lot of great traits, and you're not getting a compensatory second-round pick. You also don't have a ton of leverage if you're the Tampa Bay Lightning because you're trying to move the player. So you lose some of that leverage when it comes to negotiating. And that's what we heard. We heard that right around the draft, right? That there was a lot of teams out there that wanted Isaac Howard, and either the compensation wasn't good enough for the Lightning or Isaac Howard wasn't going to sign off for it. You had to find the right partner. And we mentioned this when I came up with my trade package for Connor McDavid, which people are still commenting, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. It's an overpay. It's not enough. The Lightning will never do this. Edmonton will never do this. Listen, numbnuts, pay attention to what's going on. That was a possibility. If a trade were to take place, this is what it would entail. It's crazy how people don't listen. It's crazy that people don't read. It's mind-boggling to me. But this had to get done. This is a deal that had to get done for the Tampa Bay Lightning because the longer it dragged on, the worse it was going to be. And you want to put this behind you and you want to move on. This Isaac Howard situation has just, it's been a black cloud on the over the Tampa Bay Lightning for the last couple of months. And now it is over. It is over. Goodbye. Again, good riddance to you. You are not a fit for the Tampa Bay Lightning organization. Not the way you go about your business. That is not the way we operate here. Bye-bye. All right, lastly, before we go, the Rays are in action right now, and you can tune over to them when we're done over here. They're in Detroit against the Tigres. Did they switch it? Did they move it back? 5:10 start? Did they? Why are we looking here? It's so funny how I'm like locked in my own world. I don't even know what's going on with the Rays. What am I missing here? Okay. Oh, it did get pushed back to 5:10 due to inclement weather. How did I miss that? Crazy. It was Benny. One of you guys said, "Oh, the Rays game is about to start." Yeah, see, Benny, we'll blame Benny. Your fault. Your fault. Your fault. Shame. All right, there you go. I was wondering why we didn't lose like a bunch of viewers a little while ago. All right, lastly, Junior Caminero. Named an all-star yesterday, filling in for Alex Bregman. Well-deserved, right? Unbelievable season for the kid. And then we find out today that he's going into the home run derby. So if you guys remember, and I just saw my pal Aaron Jacobson put out a video about this, about his concerns with Junior entering into the home run derby. If you remember, I actually did the research last year or 2 years ago because people said there's no information backing it up. And I went through every single year for the last 10 years. And I went through the batting averages, the on-base percentage, and the slugging of players before the home run derby and after the home run derby. I am going to try to find that. I had these papers. I got to try to find it because it was really good, and I did a lot of freaking work on it. And there were some outliers. But for the most part, there are issues with guys in the second half. They just run out of steam. And as much as you look at the situation with Junior and any guy in that situation, you go, oh, it's their swing, it's their swing, it's their swing. It's more than that. And I mentioned this on the program yesterday. It's not just about that. It's about the travel. It's about not getting off of your feet when everybody else is. It's different, man. There's a lot that it entails. And I get it that there's other guys that go through it every single year that are multi-time all-stars like the Judges and Otanis. And I had Trouts, and I get that. I get that. I know that's part of the gig. But it doesn't mean that it's not going to affect Junior Caminero in the second half of the season. This is his first full year in the big leagues. Am I worried that there's going to be some after effects of this entire weekend? Yes. Yes, because he's asked to do a lot. He's asked to do a lot with this team right off the rip. Are you concerned with Junior Caminero and his participation in the home run derby and all-star weekend? Feel free. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen, or you can give us a call as well. Here is the link. Put it right here in the chat for you guys. StreamYard.com/YWXCQ5X9RE. Just click on the link there in the chat. You can join via the phone or your laptop. It's more than just being in the home run derby. It's just him, right? Not having the week off, not having a couple of days off. Going into the season, people were worried. And it's kind of funny. If you were concerned about all of the responsibility that was heaped on Junior going into the season, and now you're not worried about this, that's kind of a little ass backwards to me. I wasn't worried going into the season because, like, I think he's built for this shit. I really do. And I wasn't concerned with him playing third every day and batting third every day because, like, that's who he is. Like, that's what you're expecting from him. And I think too many times the Rays treat their position players with kid gloves. And instead of just unleashing them into the world and letting them do their thing, they're just like, oh, well, we don't want to, or whether it's, worried about the development or you're concerned about the service time, like, man, these guys are ready to ball. Look at what happens when you take the freaking cufflinks off a guy like Jonathan Aranda. Balling. All-star season. Look at what happens when you just let Junior Caminero go out there and do his thing. Learn on the job here with the big club. Balling. All-star season. So when I think of Junior Caminero and I hear that he is a selection and a late add to the All-Star team, I think it's phenomenal. I think for him and being around those guys is going to pay dividends. And he's just going to be around some of the best players in the game. You pick up these little tricks and, you learn about preparation. And when you're around like-minded people, the best of the best, when it comes to that aspect, I think it's a huge positive. When it comes to the production in the second half of the season, and if there's concerns of him wearing down or not being as productive, I think it's only natural to say yes, because he could have done that even if he wasn't selected for the All-Star game or the Home Run Derby. He could have that break and still struggle in the second half of the season because he's never played a full 162 game season before. Doesn't mean he has to play in every game, but just it's a long and arduous road. The dog days of summer, like that's a baseball term. We don't know how he's going to react to that. We don't know how he's going to look in the middle and the end of August, how he's going to look in early September, how he's going to look down the stretch before the postseason. We don't know that. But what we do know is it's going to be at least a little bit harder because he doesn't have some time off. He's going to be able to go to Atlanta, and he's going to go to the All-Star game, and he's going to participate in the Home Run Derby, and there's going to be a lot of fanfare around it. People are going to want to see what this kid's all about. And if you know anything about Junior Caminero, he has that same type of, when the lights shine the brightest, he's going to play his best, like Randy Arozarena. So don't be surprised if he goes out there and wins the freaking Home Run Derby. Would you be surprised if Junior Caminero goes out there and he wins the Home Run Derby? I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. And you want to talk about a star being born, Junior Caminero, that could be the way he does it. You're there, national television broadcast, eyes from all around the world watching you, trying to hit the ball over the wall, and he wins. Watch out. You'll see a lot more Junior Caminero commercials. You'll see his face plastered in a lot more places than you do right now. It could be his coming out party. And as far as his brand and as far as the visuals and his exposure, no doubt about it, that can help him tenfold. But concerns about how his body is going to take it mentally, not having that break in the middle of the season, I don't think you have to be a super pessimistic person or glass half empty type of guy or gal to have your concerns, because I certainly do. I certainly do. And I'm going to effort to find those papers. They are around somewhere to give you guys that information on the show tomorrow. It's our last show before we take a summer vacation, because I think it's very interesting to kind of break that down. It'd be great to get Junior Caminero on the pod, Jeff Taylor. I do not speak Spanish. A little bit. I dabble here and there. I just learned enough so my ex-girlfriend's parents, not my current ex-girlfriend, but my ex-girlfriend in high school, her dad used to talk shit about me at the dinner table, so I learned some Spanish so I could understand. It's the way you gotta find a way, man. You gotta find a way to make it happen. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for me. I love you all. This has been really, really good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed our chat about Isaac Howard. This has been really, really a fun day on the program. Unfortunately, the bad news with Tristan Wirfs going down, it sucks, man. It really does. It's awful. But hopefully they were able to find it, get to work on it, and then go from there. But we'll see. We'll see. Our whole chat with Greg Auman is going to be up on the channel a little bit later on today, including our chat with Marc Raimondi. Get your book right now. Say hello to the bad guys. How Professional Wrestling's New World Order Changed America. I got mine on Amazon. Help out our good pal. We're always supporting our friends. Support local, of course, our good guy, Honest Hammer, Custom Builders, LLC, 813-244-0956. Make sure you scan that QR code, residential, commercial. You just want to talk. Hey, I need some advice. Hammer, I heard it on the J Recher podcast. What can you do to help me? He'll be there for you. He's that type of guy. Questions, follow me on social media, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I love you guys so much. Please like and subscribe. We're trying to get as many subscribers as possible. The goal is 5,000 by the end of the year. My nephew Lawson set that goal for us. We got to reach it by December 31st. And hopefully you'll just let everybody know. We got to share this content on your social media platforms. Let your friends, your family, your dentist, your mailman, let them know that we're rocking out here on the J Recher podcast. Tomorrow on the program, 1 o'clock, Mark Topkin from the Tampa Bay Times. He will join us at 1:30. The brand new coach for our Tampa Bay Rowdies will join us right here on the program. Come on by. Dominic Casiato is going to join us here. What is he all about? How is his team going to be different? How is he going to get the Tampa Bay Rowdies back to their winning ways? That'll be 1:30 tomorrow on the program. We also have some other irons in the fire. We'll see if we can get our guy, maybe Titus O'Neil, to stop by, our guy Toby Holt to stop by. We don't know, but we'll have a conversation because tomorrow is the last show before summer vacation. Will be off for 2 weeks after tomorrow's show, so it should be a fun one. Please get those super chats in because every little bit helps. I love you all. I thank you all. You guys are the best. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the J Recher podcast.